Aloha, cupcakes. Today is the alien deathhawk. Seriously, best name for a paintbrush I've ever seen. I don't see how we're ever going to top that. But that's fine. Let's try it out. So first thing with this thing, I want to give it a couple of straight lines. And just looking at the way the tip looks right before I drop it to pull these lines, it looks like it's got a huge glob of paint on it. It doesn't, but that's what it looks like. So it kind of messes me up a little bit, psychs me out a little bit, and it's going to take a little getting used to for that. Because, yeah, all day today, that's what this thing's been doing. But this thing's pulling some pretty smooth, very tight lines. And now you'll notice I paint upside down. That's partially for the sake of the camera and partially because that's just how I've grown accustomed to doing these things when I'm working on panels. Yeah, I know it's weird. But this brush, typically, when I'm working with any of the striper brushes, they kind of give me some little squirreliness going on with it. This one is actually holding up against that. So, huge fan of that. Now, if you guys don't understand what the Alien Deathhawk is, this is actually a king13 with a little extra snappiness to it. So it's got a little rigidity to it, whereas the king13s themselves were super floppy, almost like an overloaded scrolling brush. So I've never been a huge fan of those things, and I've avoided them at all costs up until somebody had recommended me trying this one. So since we're on this mission to try every freaking brush, of course I had to get one. That, and seriously, cool name. But so far so good. I am really liking the way this brush handles when I ride right up on the tip so that I can pull some very sharp curves with it. It performs really well pulling these, well, not that one. So I mess up, okay? It's still just, I don't know how to work this thing. That's not true, I do. But it sounds cooler if I act like I'm a rookie. But so far, I really like this one. It handles really well considering I'm not a huge fan of wound brushes. Even with this one having the red coating on it, it's still a wound brush, so it still sits off to the side and it confuses me. I am very much used to things being straight in the center, and there's a little notch that I have in most of the brushes where I can tell exactly which one it is without looking at it. This one, not so much. So I gotta like sort that out with myself. These longer curvy things where I'm doing this thing, typically sword stripers and I don't mesh well in that department. But this one held up pretty good because it held up on both sides. I managed to maintain some degree of symmetry with it, and I'm still pulling some fairly tight lines considering I usually like to pull some very heavy, dense lines and then pull them out until they get into sharp, pointy lines. And this one, I'm just pulling sharp, pointy lines, if that makes sense. Yeah, that actually doesn't make sense to me. But normally I start off with a heavier line and I pull it to a thinner line. This is a little bit more consistent and still flowing with the same style that I'm used to. There, I made it make sense. So while I do have my other favorites, I think this is a brush I'm going to be keeping in rotation for a while, and I'm probably going to find some interesting places to use it. I do recommend you get a hold of this one. Maybe get two of them because they come in different sizes. I think this one's a 00. So maybe go for a triple because I think this thing will pull some even sharper lines with that. But I mean, look at it. It's gorgeous. Right? And then just, so's that. So, till later, stay moist, my friends.